So I don't know about you, but when I first became an entrepreneur, my main goal was freedom. And obviously, this podcast is mostly about that. But what is interesting is, I keep thinking to myself, what if I had to start over? Because let me tell you, a few years in, it felt nothing like freedom. But what if I was gonna start from scratch with everything, that I know now? And in today's episode, I have a guest who is on this journey for not that long. Also, he's only the second guy, male, on my podcast as well, which is super, super interesting. And welcome to the new episode on From Grind to Grace, the podcast for the alternative entrepreneur, the entrepreneur who is ready to flip the script and choose freedom first. Because when you stop grinding for freedom and start creating from freedom, success just tags along. And so let's do it for you, for your children, and for humanity. The big question, though, is how do you do it? And on today's episode, like I mentioned, it's going to be very, very interesting to talk to my guest, Jeremy Barker, who is actually on this journey right now, not for that long, but we'll chat about it. But he is not on his own completely. He's second half of another guest of mine that I had a while ago, Polly Barker. And so the two of them are doing the thing, going through all the ups and downs as I chatted with them. So it's very interesting to see how it's going, why it's happening, because as I mentioned, it's freedom is the keyword, really. And I think that's what we're going to be talking with Jeremy. So very welcome on my show. Jeremy, very glad to have you here with me.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so I know a bit of your story, but if you could, and we'll dive into it for sure. It's going to be interesting for a couple of reasons. Like I mentioned, I don't have many guys on the show.
Right.
It's ladies, 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 ladies for about this and about that. So, but I know with you, we talked a little bit about masculine and feminine energies as well. So it's going to be very interesting to, to hear what you have to say about it. But also, if you could give a quick intro about what you are up to.
Sure. Yeah. So, Jeremy and I am married to Polly, who's been on the show before as well, like you mentioned. But I really spent 20 some years in the textile world, manufacturing. I am in North Carolina, the U.S., and spent a little over 20 years in manufacturing, ending with probably the last 10 or 12 years the plant manager roles, operations manager roles. Long story short, kind of cut to the end really quick, and then we'll dive into it. But um, June of last year, I left that world and joined forces with my wife, with Polly, and her marketing agency, and that's what we're doing full time now. So, yeah, right in the middle of it.
Yeah, I know. And that is so cool in many ways. And I actually, when I see couples working together, when I see couples on this journey together, I always, well, got a little jealous, not in a bad way, in a good way. I don't have that. I don't have that. And I sometimes wonder, Because as you know, probably being an entrepreneur is something completely different. And until you become one, you don't really get it. Same with
Yeah,
like children, you can never know what it's like to have children. Even if you have a bunch of nieces, nephews, whatever, you cannot really know ever what it's like to be a parent, right?
right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So what and Paul is amazing. Like we talked about her. She's such a badass. Every time I see her, you know, her messaging, everything is so cool. So what is it looking like for you to be on this journey with her now?
It's a lot of mixed emotions, right? And just to dig into all of it, just in general, leaving kind of that area I've been familiar with and an expert in for a long time. Jumping into something with, we do have some funds, but it's limited, right? We're not millionaires and out here and don't need to work every day and all this kind of thing. So it's scary in the fact it's a different world, right? 100%.
Did you
But
say
it's
scary?
yeah, it's scary. It's
Yeah,
scary in the
tell me
fact,
about it.
yeah. So really, I mean, you just don't know, right? You don't know unless you make it happen. You don't have that paycheck coming.
Hmm.
I mean, for a long time, and I worked very hard in what I was doing. But um, if if I didn't feel well one day, for instance, right, I could use a personal day or a vacation day, or I was on salary and I just got paid for it anyway, right? That's not how it is now. It's daily putting in the work to get the leads and the customers and the conversations and a lot of phone calls and um, scary in the fact sometimes you see money leaving, but you don't see that much coming back in yet, and
Hmm.
everything that comes with it. The positive side is definitely having someone to work with, and with it being Polly, and of course we're married. We live in the same house. We talk about it every day. Um, which is also, and we could talk forever, but also something you have to try not to do is talk
Hmm.
about it every day, right? But it's positive in the fact that I'm able to stay home with our daughter. She just turned 2. Um, I'm able to help more in terms of being a dad and a father here to our little one. But I'm also able to work, and we're also able to make that living and do it together. So that's a the positive definitely outweighs the scary moments there, and it's
Hmm.
just a whole learning process.
Very well said, very well said, because it is quite scary at times, and which is very different from what you could think when you first start on this. Oh, it's all freedom, it's flexible time, freedom, location, freedom, whatever, and that's what it might look like. You can choose not to work. But when you know that nobody is gonna bring you leads and clients and you don't get paid, as you
Right.
mentioned, that might be very challenging and definitely not for everyone, I would say. Yeah. So I was wondering, how do you split who does what?
Yeah, yeah. So great question, and that's one of the strengths of our, I guess, business relationship side of things. So I did spend that 20 some years in the manufacturing world. Most of that time it was with a global company, big companies, a lot of different layers, a lot of conversations, a lot of uh, just a lot of working through kind of different cultures and problems and organization issues, those type of things. So, um, really, Now, as I continue to learn, and I did do some marketing years ago, but as I'm continuing to learn more and more about the, I guess, the technical and the creative side of things, I really focus on the organization and the business aspect of it. So,
Hmm.
um, from the managing kind of the day to day and what calls we have when and what's coming up on the agenda and really the background of everything in the business.
Okay.
A lot of the calls, those type of things. Polly, on the other hand, and so we've had our business for about 6 years now, and she is very good, like you mentioned a little bit earlier. She's very good at her messaging and the copywriting and putting the ad together and the aesthetics behind it and how it looks and really the creative side of things. So for now, as she's teaching me to learn to do a little bit more of what she does, she takes the creative side, I take the business side, and then we discuss that and bring that together. So it works out really well right now. Now she can't take all of that side, so I am actively learning a lot of that side myself. But that's really the main split right now.
Hmm. Very cool. Very cool. Sounds like you are a very good team. And so, but I would like to dive in a little bit more into why, the
Sure. Yeah.
why and the thing about freedom. I know a bit of your story. If we could talk about that again and more, maybe,
Mhm.
I think this is key for everyone, you know, because it's not just about like, right, being an entrepreneur as an idea. There are reasons why we do these things, right? So how about you?
Right. Yep. Yeah, of course. And if you want me to take a little bit different direction, just stop me and go that, or let me know. But um, yeah, so I quick a little bit deeper backstory. So I've got four daughters.
Mm,
Um, this is part of the reason of doing this, so it all connects. But I've got four daughters, three from a different marriage. Polly and myself have one. She's two, and you know, a while ago now, Polly was working at Continental Tire Company, and got out of that world as well. Wanted to do her own thing, and it's about the last 5 years or so of my manufacturing career. Um, that joy was missing. It was
mm,
gone. I was there so long. I was an expert in what I was doing, and it just, I could go to work every day and I could see the problems and I knew the solutions, and it was challenging, but I had lost I had lost that feeling, right? I didn't really desire to do better there anymore. I felt like I had kind of reached where I have plateaued and I need to do something else.
mm,
But super hard to make that decision and leave something that you're so familiar with. So I stayed in it and I stayed in it, and it was miserable and it was more miserable, and uh, it got to a point to where it was causing issues at home because I'm having issues at work. I don't enjoy what I'm doing, and then I come home and I fuss about it, and you bring those problems home, and it's very easy to do, and you don't really even notice consciously that you're doing it sometimes. And it got to a point where we decided, okay, we're going to move. Um, I still could have driven to this job, but it was further away. So I found something else, made the hard decision to leave that job after about 19 and a half years. Um, Joined a smaller company, still wasn't happy. I worked there 9 months, got a job offer for the most money that I have made in my life in terms of the salary. Um, Big company, and so I joined with them a year and a half. I worked there. It was great money. It really was. It was six-figure salary, and um, it was really pushing the limits of what I have made before by a lot. Um, they let me go last June. It was a Israeli company. There were some people coming back and forth from headquarters, and I did a just kind of a big shift, right? A big kind of repositioning in the company. Unfortunately, my position was one of the ones to go. Um, but I wasn't happy there. You know, the whole year and a half I was there, and even though it was more money than we've made before and everything that comes with it, I was not happy being there. I didn't like being
Mhm.
away from home. We had a new baby. I did not like being away from the new baby. Um, it just wasn't fun. I did it every day because we had to do it. That was it. When I got let go, it was a pretty big blow. You know, it was the first, I guess, first job, adult job that you have that I had been let go of. But you know that it wasn't bad. It was really the push that I needed. Um, I don't know if I would have just, you know, we talked about it for years, and we would just sit there and talk. Well, when we get to this point, I'll leave, or
Mhm.
when we reach this milestone, I'll leave. I don't know that I ever would. I bet you know, honestly, we probably would have moved that milestone a little bit more. Um, but being let go from that company kind of forced your hand, you know. And I tried right after that to go back somewhere else. I did it for a week and a half and I quit. And I was like, you know
Oh, you
what?
did. That was gonna be my question. Wait,
I went back.
okay.
Yeah, I went back one more time to a place making about the same money. Um, and I knew the boss there, and so he gave me a shot there. I felt really bad. I knew going into it, you know, you don't want to do this, but I did it anyway. Um, After about a week and a half, I did tell him I couldn't do it. It didn't align with what I was trying to do in my life right now, and so I left after a week and a half. And then you know, from then it was really diving in. Okay, how much money do we have? How do we stretch it? What bills can we lower? Uh, what can we do to both jump in, push the business along to a point to where I don't have to go back? And
Mhm.
that's and really the main. I don't know. Of of course, if I had to, of course you can do anything if you have to do it. But it would be extremely difficult for me to have to go back somewhere now from being able to be here at home every day. Um, Wake up, make breakfast, just do those things. And you're talking about freedom. Now, are we in a situation to where we don't have to work and we're going to go buy the newest car or the biggest house or something like that? That's not what freedom is for me. And and I don't know, it really shifted. I would probably say when I started getting tired of what I was doing 5 years ago, that shift was probably starting to happen from money oriented career to work life balance type situation. But I didn't see it. It's but I think when I was let go, it kind of kicks you a little bit, right? It's a big jolt.
Mhm.
Okay, what are you going to do now? I think really after we sit down and started digging through it and looking, that's 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 why I wasn't happy anymore. Because that shift was there, but I was pushing against what I knew I should do for the money side of things. But when I kind of let go of that, um, which was a desire that I had, I wanted to be home. The main desire I had, I wanted to be home with my wife, with my child, and we wanted to create a situation to where we could help our parents and you know, just not struggle and not see them struggle. And the main point was though that I could be home. And I mentioned I had uh, three other daughters. When they were coming up, I was in that stage to where it was um, how much money can I make? How can we get ahead? What do I need to do? All those type of things. And it was really chasing that dollar in the career. I didn't know back then I would stay there so long. Um, but I missed a lot of their activities, and I missed a lot of
Mm,
uh, their growing up because I was gone a lot. I worked a lot of 12-hour shifts, and in those positions, it turns into 13 or 14 hours. And so I missed a lot of time with them. And that's something I did not want to do with Georgia, which she just turned 2. That's our little one
mm,
now. So that was a big driving factor for the whole shift. I knew in the back of my mind I didn't want to do that. I didn't know how to get out of what I was in, but when I was pushed out of there, it opened that door and just kind of
mm.
when I grabbed that direction that I felt like I should go, but have been pushing against, it just all felt right. And then from there, we've
That's,
just worked there.
yeah, that's really cool. And that's what I like hearing. And, when I talk about freedom, it doesn't necessarily mean, huge wealth, although why not? But the idea is to first find that inner freedom, freedom within, and, create your business from that place. And I think that's what's really is missing in 9 to 5.
Yeah,
Like you don't
yeah,
have that, you don't get that freedom within, you don't get the freedom of expression, you don't get the freedom of choosing what to do,
no,
pretty much. And that's what makes it really, really hard for me. It was the case. I had a good career as well, but so what? You
right,
know?
yeah, yeah, and
So,
yeah, you just don't want to. I mean, it's honestly, I think once you allow yourself to be humble enough to not chase everything that's shiny or worry about now don't get me wrong, you need money to survive, you need money to live, so we don't want to do anything crazy, completely crazy, and you completely tear yourself down, right? But when you humble yourself enough to know that I don't need that right now. I'm perfectly fine. I have what I need, and then you build off what you need, and then build on your wants. It kind of all aligns, and I think by being pushed out of that position, really grabbing what I was trying to do, like 100% jump in. You're going to do it. Here's some non-negotiables you do every day. Here's how we're going to set this out. You have a you have a framework so you're not busy, and you have a framework so you're not, or that you are busy but you're not busy on the wrong things. And then you have because you have to once you're able to set your own schedule, you have to make sure the schedule that you're setting
mm,
is allowing the freedom in the life that you want to
yeah.
continue.
And actually, I was going to ask, how do you
Yeah.
navigate you know, that level of flexibility where you still need to get things done? So, how do you combine your life and your business so that, it's not too stressful, not too grindy, you know?
Yeah, that's been the hardest part for me in all of this. Um, I, I'll combine that because I think it fits into it well. Is because we have a 2-year-old. How do we allow each other to work? Talking about Polly as well.
Mm.
Um, how do we kind of take turns there? But for me personally, it's been very hard because it's my workspace. I don't know about you or anybody that sees this. If my workspace is not a certain way, and I'm not really OCD per se, but if my workspace is not a certain way or my surroundings aren't a certain way, it's hard for me to be the most efficient that I can be, or the most productive. So if I don't have the house, and we moved into a tiny house not too long ago, so we're trying to manage how do we work into a tiny house versus work here versus live here and everything that comes with it. So if things aren't a certain way, it's hard to get much done. So it's very particular. We know, okay, we need to keep this area clean. We need to keep this area clean. So that's not what we're doing in the morning, right? So it's I personally have had to make, and I have I have a coach as well, kind of a business personal coach, and I followed him for a long time. And one thing that's been very helpful for me is he had me and walked me through his idea of a daily method of operation. So it's DMO for short, and really it's just a quick snapshot of the month. Here's 5, 10, however many points on the side of things that I have to do every single day to move forward in certain areas that I'm trying to reach goals in. Um, I carry that around. I keep it with me all the time. Honestly, you have to kind of keep it in the forefront because it's very easy to say, well, I'm going to spend an extra 30 minutes doing this today. It's okay. I don't have to do that right now. It's very easy to not be productive. It's
Mm.
very simple, and I think honestly at a very deep level, I think most people, and it's not a bad thing because I mean I'm that way too. Most people want to uh, they want to relax. They want to do something fun. They want to those type of things. Nobody just wakes up in the morning and says, "Well, man, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna work until my head hurts." And I mean, nobody just wants to do that naturally. So you have to, yeah. And I try not to use the word discipline because I think it's more than that. I think it's more of creating habits. It's kind of rewiring your mind to say, okay, if you want to be this person, here are the things you have to do to be this person, and making sure you're doing those things daily until you reach that level. But it's you have to be you have to be very intentful. You have to be very purposeful with your time. I think one of the biggest issues, full transparency, that I have is I have gotten into a very bad habit of staying up too late
And
after I stopped working.
it's like I was gonna ask you that as
Yeah,
well.
so I stay up late, and I do work really late hours. I do
And
work.
what is
Now
the
there's
reason you stay up late?
well now it started. I wanted Polly to really be successful in her business. Um, so when I first stopped working at the manufacturing and jumped in with her, it wasn't necessarily that I was going to do all these things and stuff. It was really first, okay, until we know what we're going to do, I am going to take main, uh, I guess, point person for the baby during the day and at night so she can get the rest that she needs and she can be energized because being in that creative space that she needs to be in to do the copyright messaging and those type of things if you're kind of drained in your mind and it's hard to be in that creative realm,
For
right?
sure.
So I'd run around with Georgia during the day. Ended up I would stay up with her at night, so Polly would rest and she wasn't waking up every 2 hours looking for her mom and all these kind of things. So I would stay up with her, get her to sleep at night, um, so really she could rest. And it just turned into, well, I was up late with her, so then I'd start working, and then it turned into, well, then she's finally going to sleep. But then I saw it as a time where I could have some quiet space to get caught up on some things. But then
Mm.
if I'm not careful, and this is what I'm saying, you got to be very careful because then if I'm not careful, I'm waking up the exact same time as the baby does, and then I can't get my day started right. Or if I try to get up 2 or 3 hours early, it's like trying to peel my eyes open just to do it. So I'm still in the midst of all that. And I mean, honestly, like I said, it's only been what 6 months or so. 5, 6 months since we fully jumped in like this. And there's been a lot more to work out in terms of habits I had no clue that I even had.
Mm.
Um, um, that really you need to kind of rewire those. You're kind of resetting. I don't need that anymore. I need to incorporate this one, and that's a lengthy process. And honestly, it's daily work. Our our mindset, our personal development, are we do a lot of kind of now. I mean, I don't teach this. Polly can teach some of it, but we do a lot of kind of kind of rewiring of your brain and subconscious and kind of how to pull that in and it's we do more of that, more of the kind of self development work than we do in the actual marketing right now because I think to get to the level we need to be at, we can get the business with the marketing, and we've got the business, and it's going good. It'll go a lot better, and we'll continue to grow it. But if we don't have this other side properly set, the foundation of your mindset, your personal development, and your habits, and those type of things, you're only going to reach a certain level in a business. You're going to hit the ceiling, and you're just going to freak out because you weren't ready for that next level. So right now, really, what we're doing is we're working our business. We're trying to reach the next level ourselves, so we can be a better help to the people that we are serving.
Oh yeah, that is for sure. Mindset is everything. I mean, who you are is basically who is running the bleeding business.
Right, right, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And
It's
I
yeah,
know that night work so well because I
yeah,
was in a situation where I had a small daughter. She's 8 now, but I started when she was little.
yeah.
Um, and I couldn't do much during the day. My
Oh,
working day used to start like 9 p.m., something like that, and then I couldn't stop. And I
yeah,
get into this creative zone, something I couldn't stop working. And I was grinding like that for, I don't know, for way too long, I have to say, way
yeah.
too long. If I knew what I know now, if I knew then, I wouldn't do that. Although I think and maybe we can chat about this as well. I think, when we talk about freedom and when we talk about it from the place of learning certain lessons, being over learning certain lessons, that's one thing. But when you are in the beginning, you just don't know about it. You don't realize, right? There are lessons to be learned and conclusions to be made from your own experience, right?
It's
And
yeah,
right, and depending on what coaches you manage to get, really, I mean, we are not everyone is lucky to get a coach who is actually also
right. Yeah,
teaching you how to be free, how to look at it, like how to create that freedom. I remember my very, very, very first coach was preaching grind, right? And he was telling, you know what, I blocked everything for 2 years, all the social life, all the family events, everything and everything and everything. And I'm like, when I look
yeah,
back at
yeah.
that, oh my God, I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah, that's and you're right. Just kind of real quick, it's so the coach that I have was exactly like that once upon a time, right? When I started following him the first time, I was interested in the marketing world, and it's been years ago. Um, but it was one of his programs that I joined, and I never spoke to him then, but that's what it was. It was how high or how late are you going to stay up? You're going to burn the candle on both ends to get this done, and these are the people that are going to make it. And it was that, right? It was pretty hardcore. And then he had some. unfortunate events over his life, and I followed him for years. That really brought him to the point of he he made all this money and did all these things, but then he lost it all.
Mm,
And after he lost it all and had some health issues and whatnot, and came out the other end and said, you know what? Yeah, I can do it again, but this time I'm going to do it different, and I'm going to really help people along the way. And he really opened up about what he went through, and that's what drew me in. I followed him for years. So it is
wow.
important. Whoever, whatever coach you do have or talk to, they do have to align with what you believe, right?
Yeah, for definitely. I think this is so important for everyone to hear, like, and I had other coaches and also pretty recently as well that I didn't align with at all. And I was like, I started feeling so bad about myself. And, he was like, just go, 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 do. And at that stage, I was already energetically awaking, but not enough to spot this kind of very masculine, very kind of do thing without any creativities, any space for creativity left, so that I ended up feeling even
Yeah.
worse about myself. Oh my God, he's telling me to like make 100 calls a day. And I'm like, I cannot make 100 calls a day. I'm a loser, you know?
See, and you bring it up yeah, exactly. So one big principle that he's taught me, and I've tried to kind of keep it close and remind myself of that, is it's not about perfection, right? It's about persistence. So it's about showing up every day. It's about doing something every day. It's not about being 100% perfect in what you're doing, because you're not going to be. We're not that way, and that's a lot of ways people push. Is where you have to do this, right? You have to hit 100 calls. You have to do it. You have to, no matter what. Yeah, you need to make calls, but first start with five. Start making calls, right? Start making five, and then you're going to see how quick you can make five calls, and you're going to throw five on top of it. It's just like running. Somebody that wants to run. He told me one time, uh, okay, you can't run a mile. Run from where you're at to the telephone pole, right? And then once you get there, um, you're going to want to go to the next distance. So it's all about how you create those habits, and it's all about really breaking them down to manageable tasks, I guess, that you can complete in a
Yeah.
day or a week or whatever you're tracking. But yeah, no, it's definitely important, but you can't cut out other aspects of your life to raise one, because then you're going to be deficient, and you have to have all those areas. You need to try to get them all about even, right? To kind of be that whole
Yeah.
self
I
that you
mean,
are. So
what is important is that, it's not to create your own 9 to 5,
yeah,
so many entrepreneurs actually end up in a worse situation than 9 to 5. And because it's all on them, it's very easy to get into that trap, right? So I am actually curious about, because because you're a guy, and I talk quite a bit about feminine and masculine energies and their role in running a business, and how there needs to be some level of balance, and where you use feminine energy and where you use your masculine energy and those kind of things. What is there anything you can talk to that, or do you talk about these things with Polly?
we really don't talk about it too much, but Polly is a very masculine energy person, female. She really is. It's to a point to where I think we cross each other in that
Mm.
alignment sometimes, right? Which can cause issues. So you have to be aware of it. But and I don't I don't know. I think my whole kind of mindset has shifted over the past few years. Like I mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
it's I don't I don't I don't really mind, honestly, in our relationship, personal or business, either one, kind of who's in charge, or whatever could be considered kind of that masculine role, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's I have come to a point to where I would take a lesser role just to be able to kind of chill out and be supportive for a while. I've been in those factories for 20 some years, and all hours of the day and all these things, I want to be, and I don't personally, because that's really shifted over the years. So I don't really personally see it like that anymore. But a lot of people see it as, okay, masculine works and feminine stays home with the kids. So I'm going to use that as an example. I would stay home with this little kid and clean the house and cook the food and do anything in the world I could do to support her, if that's what is going to kind of boost our situation.
Right. And do you get creative ideas as look after the household and the baby? Is
And in
creative
terms of,
ideas or ideas about around your business? Because what I'm interested in and what I found myself eventually, because I used to be, grind, what I found and what was fascinating when I paused and when I slowed down, that's when real creativity opened up. And sometimes I can't think of anything. I sit on my laptop and I know what I need to create, but my head is
yeah,
just not working. I'm too much in my head. It's not working. I could be sitting here. I can totally force myself to keep going, but like right now, it's like, oh, it's not worth it. It's a waste of my time. And I step back, step away from this office, whatever, go
yeah,
for a walk. And you know what? Oh,
yeah,
I come up with things. And then I'm itchy. Oh, let me write this down quickly, implement. Does that happen for you?
yeah. And I think a lot of times when it does, because I think anybody that takes a big no matter what you're doing, whether you're taking care of kids or you're working full time still at a job, just working remote, it doesn't matter. If you take that big shift from being in an office environment or factory environment, whatever, away from home, anywhere away from home every day, to a point to where you're at home every day, you don't have to leave. It don't matter what you're doing. I think you have to incorporate different things and objectives and goals into your daily life, really, to support that new version of you that's going to be home now. And I mean, you feel it building up. You'll feel that stress building up. It could be something that yesterday didn't bother you, and today you feel it. It's just, it's you're up to here, and the next thing is going to set you off. And I mean, we're all real people. It happens. Um, I do like, and it's a little cold here now. I'm not a fan of cold weather, but I do like throwing the baby in the stroller. She'll be bigger next time it's warm, so we'll go walking more. But throwing her in the stroller and just going walking or going on a jog, or incorporating those breaks and those points to where, okay, I'm stressed out. What am I going to do to kind of take it down a level during that area of bringing it down a level? That's where a lot of those ideas would come into place, or you
Mm.
kind of see something different, or um, things like that. One thing that has really helped me. I joined a group on Facebook, again, something my coach recommended, but it was a 90 video in 90-day challenge, right? And
Right.
this kind of goes along the same principle. But I wasn't somebody that would post a video online unless it's my kid's birthday or something like that. Um, but doing that for 90 days, and it's like doing anything. it's it kind of opens new avenues of creativity for you, whether it's that, whether it's incorporating walking, um, whether it's just saying, okay, every day at 12 o'clock, I'm going to stop and I'm going to take the little one to the playground or whatever it is. No matter how busy you are, you have to you have to make that time. And honestly, I do stay up late. A lot of my creative thoughts don't come late at night. That's when I'm catching up and just kind of doing those type of things. So you have to make room during the day, whether it's early morning hours before people are up or break times throughout your day where you can cool down a little bit in order to get some of those creative ideas. Because I don't think myself or Polly, honestly, if we weren't working on the business in different ways right now, if we had so much money we didn't need to do anything else, I don't think we could just sit here and do nothing, right? And I think
Mhm.
that's what makes the biggest difference when you get to that version of yourself. You're not going to be happy. The money's just yes, it'd
Mhm.
be nice, right? But it's not gonna fulfill that desire to get up in the morning and do something.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I think that's one of the key differentiators or qualifiers of a real entrepreneur. Like a lot of people think, once I make this amount, I'm not gonna do anything. Well, first of all, it doesn't really happen that way. You still need to at least maintain whatever. But then also, when you love what you're doing, like what's the point? Like I cannot, like you said, I cannot not do something, you know,
Right. Yep.
even if it means taking a break, but that break is intentional and that break is very often to support my business, to support my creativity,
Yep.
to support ideation and, things like that. So, um, the other question I wanted to ask, so you are in this for roughly half a year now, right? Half a year, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what lessons have you learned so far? How would you compare your, Jeremy in June or July to who you are now?
Oh man. Yeah. That's tough. It's I've learned a lot more about myself, I would say.
Mhm.
Um, anything like I mentioned from things that I want to change to things that work well with the new person that I am and that I'm working to become and that I'll keep. But I think it has caused me to kind of really look deeper within than I have in a long time.
Mhm.
Um, kind of propping everything up on me. So I've learned how to deal with pressure differently. I don't know if it's necessarily more or just different. And I think what it the pressures that I have now are completely different than they were in the past. So the past, the I would say more of the pressure was, okay, how am I going to complete this project that they've put on my plate so I continue to get this paycheck so I continue to support my family. Now it's like, okay, what am I going to do today to speak to so many people to complete this
Mhm.
project for this person because and then how are we going to make sure we do it with the best quality we possibly can because whatever product we deliver has our name behind it now, right? It's not some big company that
Mhm.
I'm working for. It's us. So I think it's changed the pressures to a point to where the pressures that I feel now is honestly more. Um, I don't say more pressure, but I it's a stronger pressure that I feel now than I did before. And some people might think, well, that's not really freedom. Actually, it is for me because I asked for that pressure. I knew what I was getting into when I asked for that. Okay, I'm going to take this pressure because what is freedom to me is being able to stay home with my family. So if adding this pressure allows me to do that, then I welcome that. Right? It's a big
Yeah,
difference from before.
yeah, I think, and let me know if that's what you are thinking too. There is like a different quality to that pressure. It is
Yeah.
pressure, and it's like every day, go, go, go. It's not some distant deadline, on the project. It's like today, like things need to be happening every day, but there is different quality, and that's an interesting topic. It's because you feel the growth. There is some sort of growth happening, right? And you look at it from the lens of personal growth also, rather than when you are in a job, it's like it's just functional, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that kind of sums up what I'm thinking too. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's just a different it's a different feeling. It's um yeah, I don't know. Until you're in it, it's kind of like one of those things you mentioned in the beginning, right? Until you're a parent, you might have some ideas about it, but you've never been a parent. So it's 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 just it's a very if I could accurately explain how it feels to someone that hasn't been an entrepreneur or doesn't know too much about it, they're probably going to look at me and say, "You were crazy for leaving that manufacturing world where you were getting your paychecks, you had health insurance all the time, you had all your benefits, and you had the money coming in, and you had the house, and you had these things." So, yeah, I mean, there's people in my family that I'm sure right now think I'm completely insane. Um, but that's okay because that kind of fits it fits what what we're trying to do, and it really I don't know. That's the freedom we see, right? Being able to do
Mhm.
this, being able to be here together and move this forward, and setting ourselves on a foundation to where it really opens the door for who knows what, right? And that's kind of we're at that first level of that. So and I think the stronger that because everybody has a goal, everybody has a dream, but I think until you come to a place, and it doesn't have to be negative, but until you come to a place to where you kind of really kind of meet that line in the sand, and it's hard to tell everybody really what that is, but when you're there and you actually kind of jump over it, it gets hard, it gets tough, it gets really hard, it gets really tough, but at the same time, it's rewarding and it's a roller coaster. And I mean, every single day, there might be some days I'm completely stressed and I'm like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do now? And then things hit and you're super happy and you're just on that roller
Yeah.
coaster ride until it levels out, right?
Yeah, complete roller coaster. I know. Do you have any ways with Polly to lift each other up you know, if days like that happen for either of you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just giving each other some space, and it's with the 2 year old running around, it gets a little crazy. So and we have a tiny house, so it gets extra crazy. So yeah, there are times, if one of us reached a certain point, and we definitely do, we're human like everybody else, we all do. But if we reach that point and we notice the other one, okay, we'll take the baby for a little bit. Maybe we'll go on a walk, or I'll throw her in the car and we'll go down the road and look at toys, or I mean whatever, right? Just do something, kind of give the other person a little bit of space. um, we try to tell each other honestly, if we see each other getting to a certain point, like, hey, why don't you um, take a little break, take an hour, go do something for yourself, and I mean whatever it may be. But I think that's one of the main points we do when each other kind of hits that point is just really take over anything and give them that bubble of space for a little while to do whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So super. And probably it comes with its own challenges, but I'm still saying I'm kind of jealous when people go are, at least you guys understand each other, right? And I think it's so important. Sometimes it can feel quite lonely, if you're on
Yeah,
your own in this. Yeah.
yeah, and that's I think and not speaking for her, but just kind of a couple of things that we have talked about. She's mentioned before, it does feel a lot better when she does have me on her side with it. And I've always been on her side and behind her, but when I'm actually right there beside her and we're trying to work towards the same goal and the same business every
Yeah.
day, it definitely she definitely has said it changes things and kind of the motivation behind doing
Yeah.
it. But there are times as well where those kind of relationships there's some conflict, and like I mentioned to you before, I'm if I'm not one that is I'm not gonna really throw my opinions out there. I'm kind of fairly reserved and more of a quiet type of guy most of the time. Unless it's something I feel really, really strongly about, then I have no issue at all kind of vocalizing it. Polly is very opinionated. She has very strong opinions, and that's why she has gotten to where she is today. And it's if we both feel very strongly about a certain topic, we're both very opinionated, and then there comes some arguments
Mm.
sometimes. But we do know it is in the best interest of pushing the
Yeah,
business
yeah.
forward. So we do try to kind of keep that in mind, and then just kind of work our way through it. But it's yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, very cool. It's been awesome. It's been very interesting to get a perspective from, first of all, a male, then somebody who's quite fresh. And kept bringing me, I kept remembering the start of my own journey and all the challenges and um it's also very exciting, right? It's all very exciting and so many things are coming your way, as long as, and it gets easy, when you remember why you're doing this. And I think it's key. I think a lot of entrepreneurs lose that, and they suffer
Yeah,
and drop out, many. Well, the numbers speak for themselves,
yeah.
so loving what you do and remembering your why, I think it's key, right?
It definitely is. It definitely is, and that's so many people, people, I guess, make it big in terms of monetary value, right? You see it all the time. Doesn't matter which country or which era, or they do great, they blow up, they make all this money, and in 5 years they're broke and bankrupt and
Mhm.
miserable. And
Yeah,
that just shows you you have to have more of a why, really a strong why that's more than just what you have, right?
yeah,
It's got
yeah,
to be more.
yeah, for sure. Great. It was really, really, really cool chatting with you. And I don't know if you know, I don't think I was doing that when Polly was on my show, but now I ask every guest 3 blitz questions that nobody's ready for, and they are super tough.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
No, although they're actually very simple, quick, short, very straightforward. So, um, the first question is, when you hear from grind to grace, what goes through your mind? What do you think about?
I think about somebody that has worked very hard to a point to where they have reached a space to where they don't have to do that anymore. And what I mean, I never think when I hear a statement like that that somebody's worked so hard and they made it to a point to where you've made it, right? Because I don't think you ever just make it. So I think you get to a point to where you're working hard for a certain reason and you get to that grace point, you've reached your goal.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, very interesting. Yes. Either that happens, I think, or people just, I don't know, drop out,
Yeah.
burn out, I don't know, right? The next question is, what change would you like to see in the world?
What change in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I I would love to see talking about a a world goal for every country not to hate each other. You know, it seems like it gets worse and worse every year. You turn on the news and another
Mm.
country hates another country and shooting rockets or whatever it may be. You know, it just seems like there's so many things in the world that people fight over and really it's just power and in the end that power means absolutely nothing and I just hate seeing people really fighting over things like that.
Yeah, it's that topic that keeps recurring now more and more often, crazy things are going on in the
It is.
world. And it has been for a while like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I get that. I would love that too, you know. Oh, let's hope for the better. And so the last one, the most important one, is what impact would you personally like to create in the world?
I would I would just like to really kind of help people get to their next level and I'll leave that wide open on purpose. You know, I've had the opportunity um, to help people in different situations and been through quite a bit myself. So I I have I, I feel like a lot of life knowledge to be able to help people
Mm,
do that. You know, so I didn't mention it during our talk, but one of the things that I really like about what I'm doing now is it's taken me out of a world I've been in for so long and put me in the middle of a world that I know really nothing about. So I've had a chance to meet a lot of new people. I've had a chance to really connect with some, and everybody's got a story, and I really like to hear those. I really like to hear different ones, and I really want to be in a position to where I can help people. Maybe it's helping them get through the loss of a loved one, or maybe it's helping somebody take their business to the next level, or
mm,
you know what are you stuck in? What can somebody kind of help boost you? And I'm not even looking to gain really a big monetary value out of that. I'm not even talking about coaching. I'm just talking I want to create a life for myself and my family that puts us in a position to where we're able to help other people.
yeah, and I love that. And I think you are setting yourself up for that for sure, you know. So, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you a lot for being with me
Yeah, of course.
on my show. And for the listener, I hope you received tons of value from this conversation with Jeremy. Please click follow, share. That's how we are spreading this, by sharing. That's how we are flipping the script on the industry where at the moment the grind is the norm and we do wanna work towards changing that. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.